Welcome to Dollars and Cents with your host, Jeff Davis and Chris Coleman from Falcon Financial Management.
Yep, and you're listening to Dollars and Cents with your host, Jeff Davis and Chris Coleman. Jeff Davis, certified financial planner, president of Falcon Financial Management, creator of the integrated wealth management process, a man recognized by Barron Magazine as one of the top 500 independent advisors, and newly inducted member of the University of Florida Athletic Hall of Fame in the category of wrestling. My name's Chris Coleman. I'm a partner at Falcon Financial Management, and behind the glass we have Lisa Meadows. Lisa, how are you today?
I'm warming up my wrestling skills.
Oh, is that a challenge?
Funny.
Ding, let's get ready to rumble. We're starting off our Saturday with some rain, much needed rain, a little cooler weather. So looks like old man winter is clinging on his way out the door. But he's hanging on and fighting and pushing back a little. Jeff, how are you this morning?
Cold.
Cold? I don't know. All right, we're having technical difficulties with the chair and the headphones, but it's all coming together.
There. Okay, I'm back.
Outstanding, outstanding.
I didn't realize it. It sounds kind of tinny. So, anyway, turn it down. Okay. Instructions from the teach over there.
She's doing a good job. She's multitasking.
But yeah, I walked out the door and I didn't realize it was like 3 degrees outside. It's cold.
That's probably
wet. So
oh yeah.
Today's going to be a challenge for any outside activities that people planned.
A chance to catch up on things on the inside. Maybe you had some paperwork at home you needed to tend to. Mm-hmm. Working on the budget, balancing the bills, that sort of stuff. Good day to do it.
Gosh, is there really a good day to do that?
It's something we all got to face, and I got to do it often myself.
Good. Well, I know my son John was planning on going to the Springs today. Oops.
Bad ideas for 1,000, Alex. Bad idea.
It'll be warmer in the springs than it will be outside.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because there's 70 degrees.
Oh, well, it's not 70 degrees outside, that's for sure.
You know, me and my fellow bandmates of Good Bottom played at Roundabout last night. So we're setting up and people are eating their dinner and stuff. And like a lot of places, they had the big TVs up there and stuff, but the sound was muted as we were trying to get all our stuff together. And then the news came across about the capturing of the second suspect, and random applause broke out.
Thought it was for you.
Oh, it wasn't for us. Bad music for 1,000, Alex. But we did have a lot of fun. But it was, one of those moments where you see folks take notice of a terrible event, all the effort that went into and finding someone, and a celebratory moment of a lot of work coming together to capture someone who did some absolutely awful, and we don't know he's a suspect. So,
well,
air quotes were there for those in radio land. Suspect.
I can't help. It's been an interesting week in Boston. Everything that's happened since Monday. I'm glued to my TV last night, like many people, as you watch something like this unfold right in front of you. To think that in other times, you wouldn't have. Heck, they probably couldn't have caught the guy the way they did. The fact that they were able to gather up surveillance pictures from all these different places, it was like they, had a video of everything they did, from putting the bomb down and there's the backpack, there's the bomb, oops, there it goes, to, thermal imaging to see him in the boat before they went in there. It's pretty interesting, everything that they had. I think I've talked about this before, but I'm going through a course right now from the great courses. If you ever get this in this catalog in the mail and you're interested in lifelong learning, this is a great place to get some different subjects, and it's available online too. But I've got a set of CDs. I'm taking a class right now on the 5 great religions, and each of the religions is given by a prominent professor from somewhere in the university, so somewhere in the country. So one person's from Emory University and another person's NYU, and different schools. And I started with Christianity and Judaism, and now I'm reading listening to the last part of Islam, and that's
I gotta
it's
hand it to
very
you.
interesting.
You're clipping through that series pretty well. Obviously, it's
very interesting.
intrigued.
Very interesting. Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. They call them the Abrahamic religions. They come from
The origin.
yeah,
Yeah.
which are the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims. That they could all be choosing, different portions, but the Christians, the Jews, the Muslims, and I'm sure probably Hindus and Buddhists, probably less Buddhists, but I think Hindus. I haven't read. Those are the next two, but
Oh, the phones have lit. No, just kidding.
but what I find is that there's always an extremist faction. There's an extremist. I mean, Timothy McVeigh was the extremist faction of
Christianity.
And then you've got and in Israel and all over the world, there's been there's some very extreme members of the Jewish tribe, and there's people that are Muslim who are convinced that this is that senseless violence is a way to get that's their mission to serve Allah, and it's really sad that anybody finds themselves in that position, regardless of your religion, that you're so convinced that killing other people is innocent people is the thing you should be doing. It's going to be interesting if they get any information from this young man, because he is young, 19, and it's it's sad. He was a wrestler. That's all we needed was the terrorist that lives was an all-star wrestler. It's on every news channel, but. Something happened from that guy being somebody that enjoyed being with his friends to somebody that was willing to die, and somebody who was willing to kill innocent people. And what is it that makes people get to that point? I don't know, and it's it's very sad. But it definitely demonstrated that the capabilities of law enforcement are pretty darn medicine, law, everything. We've got some pretty impressive responses to everything that happened this week. It's just absolutely amazing to me that they could identify these guys. They knew who they were. They were able to figure out what's going on, and then battle them, capture them, and
the manhunt itself, from the time of the bomb to chasing down the two suspects, and the story happened so fast, and every step was so dramatic, from the shutting down of multiple blocks and the going to search house to house. And you're right about the video camera evidence, the ability to piece together. It was like they were building a photographic jigsaw puzzle. Here was his piece. This has to be all right. Well, that eliminated a ton of suspects. But then how they organized to go house for house and shut down, and got all the citizens to cooperate for what was a shutting down of a large area completely, to go house by house. It was amazing.
Well, Boston, the folks in Boston should be really proud of the way they handled this. And, I think that there's, many, many other places in the country that that kind of spirit would be the spirit that they'd have, whether it's, other Gainesville, Dallas, or Los Angeles. I think you could have the same thing, but it was great to see from everything from the national anthem that, boy, what goosebumps I got. If you haven't seen it,
that was
Boston
awesome.
Bruin hockey game the day afterwards.
It was Boston and Buffalo, but it was in Boston, first sporting event since the shutting down of everything. And I was just as impressed with the guy who was singing, that he knew to stop and just let it happen. I mean, you got to tip your hat to that guy. He's like, this is bigger than me.
And he let him.
Yeah, he just got to.
It was great. It was so impressive. It was just, I had goosebumps every time I've seen it. I've seen it a couple times, and it's just, the resiliency of a people. And, it's the American spirit. I'm sure that spirit is a spirit shared around the world in different places. I haven't had that experience, but I do like the American spirit, and I believe that American spirit's what's gotten us through since 2008 when we had this enormous financial crash.
Mm-hmm.
This is that which is something that kind of happened in any other news week. What happened in outside of Waco, the fertilizer plant, there's 50 people and 200 people dead, or 15 people dead and 200 injured.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been worldwide news. That's where everybody would have been, and they would have been. It's hardly a blip in the background anymore.
That's why the scope of that explosion is, and you're right, it just fell off the front page.
And somebody was sending ricin to the president.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That happened too this week. And we had 4 out of 5 days that the stock market was negative. That's the first time in 2013.
If I had sound effects, it would be a bum bum bum.
Yeah.
Could it be?
Well, I don't know. I think that everybody that's been listening to us since the beginning of the year knows that I have been concerned that we're going to see that the stock market is primed for a step backwards. You've got a world record, national record, historical record of the stock market, using the Dow Jones and the S&P 500. These are historical highs. The bull market has been running since March the 9th of 2009. Good, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's mouthing it over there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who scores? Yay. Hercules.
That's right. And then we've got, and then, of course, we are big followers of the ISM index.
Mm-hmm.
And the ISM index is a measurement of whether purchasing managers for manufacturing, they're the guys that are buying raw goods. When they buy more raw goods, the expectation is that they're going to build more, sell more, and eventually hire more people. So it's an expansion. When the ISM index indicates that purchasing managers are buying less raw goods, then they're going to make less, they're going to sell less, and ultimately that means they're going to need fewer employees. So employment on either end of the ISM contraction or expansion is the last thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that we need to remember, that the recovery can be going a long way, and we don't have the reaction from new jobs yet. But it's the last thing that's going to happen in an expansion cycle. And we've got 47 months of expansion based on the ISM index. So these do not happen forever. So that means at some point your historic high in the stock market takes a step back. And, when it's a historic high, a 4-year bull market, a 4-year ISM, and interest rates like they are, then that's suggestive that now would be not the time to take money out of a savings account and put it into the stock market.
But that's the time instinctively that
Yes.
most folks, and we've had that discussion on
Sure.
numerous occasions, and that it feels like the right time, but
It's behavioral dynamics is the science of this study. And Baron de Rothschild said, don't buy until there's blood in the streets.
can you say his name again?
Baron de Rothschild.
Man, I like the way you roll that out there. That's totally cool.
But he was basically saying buy low.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not human nature. And one of the things about doing business with someone like ourselves is that studies have shown that financial advisors can help you get a 1.8 to 1.9. It's not a huge number, but almost 2% better average return over time. Well, 2% average return over time is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's attributed to primarily us keeping our clients invested when they don't want to be invested and getting them invested when they don't want to be invested.
Mm-hmm.
We make them, because they've given us the opportunity to take the emotion out of it, we buy low and we sell high. And right now, if we've got cash, we're keeping the cash. And we're going to look for an opportunity to put that money to work in the stock market sometime in the next, probably soon. I've thought that we would have a retreat. Now, think about the stock market. It's 14,500 today. 10% of that in round numbers is
1,450.
That's right.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
Go ahead. You're doing great. Sorry, folks. It was late night making music and a cup of coffee. I'm struggling here. Go ahead, Jeff. You're doing great.
But a 10% drop in the market only takes it down to, around 13,000. Now, we started the year around 13,000. A lot of people may forget that 13,000 was just 3 months ago or 4 months ago. But a 10% drop in the market takes us down to 13,000. A 20% drop in the market, which is technically how you identify a bear market, is going to take us down to around 12 or 11,500. Well, at 11,500, everybody who bought in at 14,500 is going to be absolutely certain that the stock market is fixed. It's not. It's just a cycle. And this is a greed cycle. And it's one of the things that this quantitative easing is what the Fed is doing to try and keep interest rates low, put money in the system. Some people call it printing money. But they're forcing more money into the monetary system. That's technically what they're doing. But quantitative easing is designed to make interest rates so low for so long that you would be willing to take some risk. And when you were fearful from 2008 and 2009, after you just went through 2000, 2001, 2002, that was a disaster for most people's portfolios. Boom, followed by a bigger. They just got back in, and they had a bigger disaster in 2008, and now they're going logically the way humans think. The stock market is doing good. I think we'll get back in. And what you're doing is you're buying at the top of the market. If you're already investing in your 401ks, your 403bs, keep doing that and keep doing it to the maximum that you can put money into it. One of the things that I see over and over again is people who contribute to 401ks, 403bs, retirement plans, they outsmart themselves, because if you don't measure your investing life by what your age is. That's an old wives' tale. It's an urban legend. It's a fallacy. What you want to do is identify how long it's going to be till you need the money. So I'm 61. I do not expect to use this money before I'm 70. So my retirement money has got at least a 9-year time horizon.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I'm 61 and expecting to use this money at 62. If I was 61 expecting to use it at 62, I would have a different approach to my investing than I do at 61, knowing I'm not going to use it at 70. So the age of 61 wasn't the determining factor. It's when am I going to use the money? And that's what we do with the integrated wealth management process. And the integrated wealth management process is really how we start our financial planning relationships with our clients. It's a holistic and evolutionary strategic planning program that's based on a conversation about your financial affairs, ideally for the rest of your life. When we take on board somebody into Falcon Financial Management's system, we are doing it with an intention of serving you until either your career is over, your life is over, or ours is over, one or the other. It's an expectation that we are going to take, and it's one of the key differences. We've talked about this at our office. What is our value? If investing is a commodity, and I think investing is a commodity, because if you like to do this and you want to study, you can go and TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, blah 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 trade, whatever they might be, and you can buy and sell stocks all the time, and you can do it cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Not counting your time. I think we talked about this a week or so ago.
That's a critical component.
Not counting your time, but if your time doesn't matter, you can do this yourself. And you can do it if you really study this and you really spend time on it, you can do it as well as the professionals that spend all day learning and doing this. On the other hand, if you are someone who's just been rocking along, then you might want to consider talking to someone like Falcon Financial Management, someone who can help identify what that portfolio needs to look like. So you may say, I'm not going to use this money till I'm 70 and I'm 61, but your portfolio may be a portfolio that's designed for somebody who's retiring at 62 because you've been frightened by the stock market. You've gone too far into bonds, and if you're in that 401k or 403b, if you're in cash and you're in bonds and you've got 10 years till you're going to need the money, you've let the psychological number of what it does going up and down force you to say, I'm not going to lose any more money. Well, you never lost any money unless you cashed out. What you did was you gave up the opportunity for gains by putting it in there. And most of us aren't smart enough to identify the bottom and then say, oh, now's the time to get in. Oh, this is the top. I'm going to sell, and I'm going to wait till it gets to the bottom. You can be around the top and you can be around the bottom, but you're never, seldom, I'm not going to say never, but you're seldom going to hit the nail on the head down on the bottom or down or up at the top. So I encourage people, don't, if you're in a 401k or a 403b, don't stop investing. Invest harder when the market's down because you're really accumulating shares. Forget about the balances, and they're not important to you today unless you're taking money out. What you want to do is accumulate as many shares of the mutual funds, as many shares of the stocks as you can when the price is low. It's like saying my favorite drink is, the IBC cream soda.
Oh, that's a good soda.
And it's now on sale for half price.
Yeah, but the cooler you got to reach in when the market's like that. It's like, well, that's going to be mighty cold when I'm putting my hand in there. But you're right. The reward is the soda when you take it out.
Well, and at half price, how many of them am I going to buy?
It's 2 for 1.
I'm going to buy as many as I can afford.
That's right.
And that's what happens when the stock market is down. Everything's on sale, but nobody will buy it. And that's one of the things that we try to do.
I know when we were doing the simple IRA reviews, we have clients who own businesses, and we go in and we sit down with the employees and we talk with them about getting a plan, talk about, hey, take advantage of a match you're getting. It's a free opportunity for you and a very quality offer from your employer. You should take advantage. And you sit there and you get someone who's anxious, and we talk through how can I structure this portfolio for you so that when you have that time, you stay in. That's the goal. It's like if you were in 100% equities and you saw a range of returns like this, what would you do? And they go, I would run like the hills, and I would come to your office and I'd beat you over the head with a banana. I made that up, by the way. Sorry, folks. I hope you're okay out there. But
you've been on a roll this week.
But my reply to those individuals is, then that's not the one for you. My job is to keep you in, because I know over the long term and given enough time, this vehicle is the best vehicle that you have to provide something for your retirement. And let's structure your portfolio to where when those time periods happen, at least you're still in the game. Mm-hmm. You've still got a chance. And that's a quality offer. When you talk about the IWM process and we create that document when we've sat down with the client, one of the things that I like the most is that it gives a broader perspective on their finances as a whole. Mm-hmm. And the ability to say, hey, you know what, that investment component is just a piece of my life as a whole. And maybe my attention needs to be on other things. You find out someone has a long lifespan, and all of a sudden you're thinking, the priority for you may be, how are we going to address the long-term care issue? Your mom and dad lived to 101. What is the priority for you in regards to your finances, and where does that piece fit into it? And I think that's something that we bring to the table that's huge.
Well, it's identifying your personal needs, and that's one of the things about creating the portfolio and helping people design their portfolios is that if you make the assumption that all investments are commodities, you can go, as I was saying, you go to E-Trade or you go to, the Mama Merrill.
Mm-hmm.
And
now you're on a roll, Mama Merrill.
That's actually we call it Mama Merrill. Mother Merrill.
Okay.
Mother Merrill.
Well, good job.
But I'm Italian, so it's Mama.
Well done.
Mother Merrill, on a fee basis, that you could take your money there, and they'll probably, for the same fee that I'm going to charge you to oversee your investments, do just as well as I do. Now, I don't think you're going to get the quality of advice that I'm going to give you. You're not going to get the personal advice that I give you because I have 150 or 200 clients, and I know my clients, and I know what they're doing. I spend weeks learning what's going on in their life when I'm taking them on as a new client. So, I know where they're born. I know how they're, what the relationship is with their children, what their dreams are, what their goals are. We call it the next great life adventure. What is their next great life adventure? How do we help them get to the point that they can afford to take their next great life adventure? And how do we make sure that the money is going to be available to them for the rest of their life? They're not going to outlive this money. And how do you monitor that process? Not just the investments, but the whole process. Have you got your wills? Have you got your trust? Should you have a will? Should you have a trust? Do you have the advanced directives? No, we haven't needed them yet. Well, you're right. You haven't needed them yet. So
thank God.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the coin, if you had, you would have had some problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's get these things done. Those are the kind of things that I'm addressing as your certified financial planner, as your advisor and that's my real value. It's all of the advice. Somehow we can't charge, the way that my industry is currently structured, we can't charge you for what the real value. And the real value isn't the investments. The real value is the advice that we bring to the table. So when you're sitting there at the kitchen table with your spouse and you're wondering, are we going to have enough money to last all of our life? What happens if one of us has to go into long-term care? Because mom is spending $6,000 a month or $7,000 a month, and I'm having to go to Lake City every other weekend to make sure her bills get paid and guess da-da-da-da-da. Well, how you're sitting at the kitchen table and you're talking about these things. Well, that's what our job is. Our job is to join you at the kitchen table. I want to bring you to my kitchen table. I would like to see people at our office, and we've got all the tools there. But, come in and sit down, and we're going to help you figure these things out. What wakes you up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning that's a financial issue in your life? Is it debt? Is it long-term care? Is it, if I give this money to my child who was the angel at 18 but is a terrorist at 19, how do I protect them?
Mm-hmm.
Or we've got clients that their kids have, for one reason or another, maybe made bad choices about marriage, and they've gone through 2 or 3 marriages. Well, how do I protect this from ex-spouses?
Mm-hmm.
That wakes you up in the morning. We've spent our lifetime saving and creating this for our children, ourselves, and our children. And I don't want to support a bad decision by my son or my daughter if I do this. That's what financial planning is, and that's what we're going to do for you at Falcon Financial Management with the integrated wealth management process.
I'm pausing for a fact because that was very well said.
Thank you.
Well said. Thank you for painting the picture of Falcon's value proposition. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Obviously, you spent a lifetime thinking on that, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Folks, if you'd like to give us a call at Falcon Financial Management, we would love to hear from you. The phone number is 352-375-7977, or you can check us out on the web at www.ffmonline.com.
Have fun. Go to the bookstore.